This weekend, an American coalition formed. It included Mike Johnson. It included Democrats. And in the end, the American people have sent the lethal aid necessary for the Ukrainian people to fight, to stay free, to push back the Russian invaders. The world is in chaos. Stability, order, peace. This is the essential role of the United States. And it was fulfilled this weekend in a bipartisan vote that represents the best traditions of this country. It is the 22nd of April, and there are 197 days left until the American people will decide who the next president of the United States is between President Biden and the criminal defendant, Donald Trump. This is the warning. A few weeks ago, I went to Poland, and I bore witness to some of the worst atrocities of the 20th century. I went to Majdanek, to Treblinka, to Auschwitz, to Theresienstadt. I went to the Krakow ghetto and to the Warsaw ghetto. I walked the halls of Oskar Schindler's factory. And the question I kept asking myself over and over again was, how did this happen? How? I couldn't help asking the question, even though I know the answer. There were no monsters at Auschwitz, only ordinary people. The perpetrators were ordinary, and the victims were ordinary. It was the one thing that they shared in common. Did you know that before they could build the barracks for the prisoners, they had to meet the fire code? Did you know that before Auschwitz could be constructed, they needed a stamp for the sewage treatment facility? How did it happen? Could it ever happen again? Well, the truth is, it's happening right now, again, in Europe, the largest country in Europe, Ukraine. It is a nation with its own language that has been ruthlessly invaded by a fascist state, Russia, under the dictatorship of Vladimir Putin. If you speak out against Putin, you could be assassinated, thrown off a roof, poisoned, imprisoned. There is no freedom in Russia. The rock concerts that will play this summer across Russia are fascist rallies, Z rallies. 500,000 Russians have been killed trying to subjugate Ukraine. This war has the potential to become World War III. And nobody should doubt that. If Vladimir Putin attacks Poland, they will fight. If Vladimir Putin attacks a NATO country, we are supposed to fight. Will we? Certainly not if Donald Trump is president. NATO is the greatest and most successful military alliance in world history. It has sustained freedom and liberty. Every country that is under threat from Russia wants in. They want to be part of the coalition of free nations. Ukraine, though, will never be in NATO because it was once part of the Soviet Union. And the reality is, Ukraine exists in a neverland, a border space between the West and Russia. But the freedom of Ukraine is essential. If it were to be swallowed up whole by Russia, it would make Russia a vastly more powerful nation. All of those Ukrainians within a generation would be Russian speakers, and they would be in the Russian army as it menaces Europe. There's a term. It's called useful idiot. It's what Russians call the dupes who have always existed in the West, who have always sought to undermine their own government, their own freedoms for Russia's interests. It is incredible that this country, where 30 million of its citizens don't have a toilet, is venerated, loved, celebrated by a legion of useful idiots, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. How is it that the people of Georgia have sent this wretched, disloyal woman to the United States Congress to represent them? How is it that the dumbest person in the Congress has become, through the sheer force of her disordered personality, one of its most powerful members? Who could tolerate this woman in the workplace? This is Marjorie Taylor Greene appearing on Fox News this past Sunday.
Once this bill was passed, the American people saw on their television screens and social media all over where Congress was waving the Ukrainian flag on the United States House of Representative floor. All of this was possible because of the betrayals of Mike Johnson, Maria. He has completely betrayed the Republican Party. He has completely betrayed Republican voters all over the country, and he is absolutely working for the Democrats, passing the Biden administration's agenda. So this is a speakership that is completely over with. It's only Mike Johnson is the one that's trying to hang on to it and is in complete denial.
She knows nothing about anything. She is dumb as a block of bricks. She is addled. She is a conspiracy nut who believes anything, whether it's QAnon conspiracies, whether it's Jewish space lasers, and Vladimir Putin's propaganda. But there is a question that needs to be answered. How is it that this American congresswoman, this dupe, this know-nothing ignorant from Georgia, is talking about Transcarpathia? These are Russian talking points, straight up Russian propaganda. Why does an American congresswoman who clearly has never read a book cover to cover in her life know about this? Even more importantly, why is she advancing through legislation on the floor of the Congress Russia's propaganda? It's very disturbing. It needs to be investigated. It needs to be looked into. But this weekend, an American coalition formed. It included Mike Johnson. It included Democrats.
How do you explain that transformation? What made Johnson become the steadfast guy on this? As you said, the profile and courage.
I think he tried to do what the Freedom Caucus wanted him to do. It wasn't going to work in the Senate or the White House. At the end of the day, we were running out of time. Ukraine's getting ready to fall. And I think the briefings that he got in the classified space, the advice he got from people like me and Mike Turner, House Intelligence, Armed Services, I think talking to world leaders, he became the man that went from a district in Louisiana to the Speaker of the United States to also someone who had to look at the entire world and had to carry the burden of that and make the right decision.
And in the end, the American people have sent the lethal aid necessary for the Ukrainian people to fight, to stay free, to push back the Russian invaders who are kidnapping children, raping women, murdering civilians. This Russian invasion of Ukraine will simply flow into the next country and the next country if it is not stopped in Ukraine. The peace of the world is dependent on the Ukrainian people winning this war. If Ukraine loses, the chances of World War III being fought by our children is extraordinarily high. These are the most dangerous moments in 50 years. The world is in chaos. Stability, order, peace. This is the essential role of the United States. And it was fulfilled this weekend in a bipartisan vote that represents the best traditions of this country. And that's good news, because had this vote gone the other way, it would have precipitated, in not so very long a period of time, global war. This is a dangerous hour, a dangerous time. And it requires Americans to be engaged, to participate, to practice citizenship, to know what's going on. Literally, it's a life and death matter. Think about that. 197 days to go. Thank you for listening to my political commentary. If you like what you heard today, please also consider subscribing to The Warning daily newsletter on Substack.